Hi, my name is Davin Sundvik with The Catch Today, and I want to help you find the perfect style of hunting rifle that's going to be for you. Now, notice we're talking about rifles. We're not talking about black powder guns or primitive weapons like archery. We're specifically talking about rifles. However, I think most people think of the classic modern synthetic gun that's going to be in bolt action. But there are a variety of different action styles that could work well for you, and you don't necessarily need to hunt with a modern day gun in order to be effective. So we're going to clear up some of these myths, and mainly because I think the first myth I want to talk about when finding a gun is understanding that hunting at long ranges is actually more expensive than hunting at close range. And what I mean by that is the amount of money it takes to get skilled at the gun range in order to be effectively taking game from 300 to 500 yards is going to be way more expensive than simply buying a more affordable rifle and putting that money into the gas tank and learning how to get within 100 yards of a deer. If you can learn how to get within 100 yards of a mule deer, you'll be able to hunt effectively with every single gun that I show you in this video. But I'll still talk about hand loading in this video as well. So without any further ado, let's get into the four main styles of hunting rifles that you'll see in the deer woods. Now, you'll see a gun like this, which is a Mosin Nagant, or you'll see any other variant of a military surplus rifle. There's a whole spectrum of them, and some of them come in more convenient, ammo or less convenient ammo to find in the store, right? So some of them are very rare and some of them are very plentiful. So you can find a wide range in between. Now, I think the next style that's very similar to military surplus, but is a much broader style of gun, is like just an antique gun that maybe somebody has inherited. Now, this is a 12 gauge that was built in 1980, so it's not insanely old compared to that Mosin. However, it's still a gun that they don't make anymore. It's going to hold its value fairly well, and this gun could represent a variety of different guns that somebody could inherit. As a matter of fact, I have shot deer with a shotgun just like this. They are effective out to 100 yards, which is what I mean when I say if you can get within 100 yards of a deer, suddenly it really doesn't matter the caliber of gun that you're shooting. It really just matters that you have a gun that you trust, right? And guns like these, whether you inherit them or you buy them used, you can get a really good deal on them and you can get a lot of craftsmanship out of them. So understand that used guns are super effective, and it doesn't have to be a shotgun. There are guns like, for example, the Ruger Mark II. A lot of those were made. They're very high quality hunting guns, and oftentimes you can get one used that is equal in price, if not a better price, to the same quality that you could find in the store, and it'll actually hold its value, versus when you buy a new gun, it won't hold its value as well. So let's get into the third and fourth style of hunting rifle that you will see in the store. You'll either find a synthetic stocked hunting rifle just like this in a traditional caliber. So when I say traditional caliber, I just mean a bullet and cartridge combination that has been around for more than 50 years. What this means is that that caliber is probably going to be a successful way to hunt deer or hunt in general, because it's going to be a popular one. Now, we're not going to talk about specific cartridge calibers in this video, so don't worry too much if you don't understand what a caliber is. Just understand that the ammo type is going to differentiate these two styles of rifles. When you're hunting with a more traditional, ready-made and popular ammo that is made for these modern rifles, it's going to be very convenient, right? You're going to be using factory ammo. And there's no reason why you can't use factory ammo and trust your rifle out to 100 yards. However, I recently just missed a 100-yard shot with this rifle because I changed ammo brands right before a hunt. And I thought my gun was sighted in, however, it wasn't. A lot of these guns can be very finicky. This one is both ammo sensitive and temperature sensitive, which just lowers my confidence and my ability to be able to shoot with this rifle. It's really unfortunate because this rifle is actually a dream to shoot. It's super comfortable, and it's actually, just very, very, in general, ergonomic and easy to use. However, that ease of use and the joy of shooting it does not overcome the inconvenience of not being able to trust where that bullet's gonna go, right? I can shoot tiny little groups at the range. It does not mean that that gun is going to be accurate. Precision is the tolerance of the gun. That gun is built to very tight tolerances. It's amazing. However, the accuracy is whether or not you're going to be able to trust that bullet to hit the target. And unfortunately, I've missed a lot of animals with that particular gun, and then what I've had to do is use my Mosin as a backup gun and then go out, hunt with my Mosin, and then fill my tag with an old military surplus rifle. So that is something to understand about modern day firearms, is that you may not be getting the best bang for your buck. Another thing I do want to cover is going to be hand loading. If you're going to go down the road of hand loading, you're going to be able to access way more firearms and way more opportunities. So if you're going to hand load modern day rifle cartridges, right? So synthetic stocked rifles that are designed for efficiently shooting cartridges, that means that you're going to be able to essentially stretch that range out much better than somebody else. But it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you in the way of maybe $10,000 or more. And I'm saying $10,000 between the rifle setup, the cost to get all of the reloading supplies, and just in general, all of the time that you're going to be spending at the range to get very, very proficient to shoot at those distances and develop a load that makes sense for you. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. We're going to get right past this conversation and into something a little bit more realistic. Now, again, just for visualization's sake, I'm going to bring up this modern rifle. If you're using factory ammo and you're very confident with your rifle, right? This setup you could be essentially hunting with less than $2,000. So a huge price gap between trying to hunt over 300 yards and simply hunting out to 300 yards. However, I still would dial this back. If you're hunting and you do know your cartridge and your gun well, you could probably take 200-yard shots fairly confidently. But if you're taking 300-yard shots all the time, I don't think you'll actually be as consistent as you think if you're not hand loading. Now, if you're lucky and you're able to find the same ammunition and you happen to shoot at the exact same elevation that you hunt in at the range, then that's awesome. I don't have that luxury, and so for me, this gun is not as accurate out to 300 yards as it could be, but doesn't mean that that isn't the case for you. If you live in high elevations and you can have access to a range that's at the exact same elevation that you hunt in, this can be a very awesome option to be able to hunt out to 300 yards. Now, when we're talking about the costs of hunting with antique firearms, you might, like I said, you might inherit a gun, in which case you get it for free, or you're buying a used gun. And like I said, a lot of that depreciation has already come out of the gun over the first few years of that first owner owning it. And then over time, depending on if it was a quality gun that's going to last the test of time, or a crappy gun that was going to rust away and end up, in a junkyard, determines whether or not that gun is going to then start appreciating back in value. And so a lot of these guns have started to already appreciate in value, and that's the benefit of owning a gun like this. You may feel like you're not getting that great of a deal at the time, but I guarantee you in 10 years, you'll feel like this gun is a much better deal than that modern day hunting rifle. I then want to go into the last category. When it comes to military surplus rifles, there are times where ammo is going to be a little bit more tricky to find than some of the modern day rifles. So it's not quite as convenient as hunting with an antique firearm that's chambered in a common caliber, or a modern day hunting rifle that's chambered in a common caliber as well. Now, I would say that if you're willing to hand load, you can get into these guns, and it's actually going to be easier to hand load a gun like this than it would be a modern day cartridge. The guns like these don't have the same kinds of tolerances, and you're not expecting the same kinds of performance. So if you're not insanely precise with your hand loading, right, to the same level as a competition shooter, you'll still be able to get out to the deer woods and hunt out to about 150 yards. Now, I'm not saying that your military surplus rifle couldn't be more accurate and capable of shooting even further ranges than 150 yards. I'm just saying, generally speaking, a lot of these calibers are going to be limited to about 150 yards. The shotgun that I had showed, limited to about 100 yards. So if you can stalk within 100 yards of the deer, suddenly it doesn't matter what rifle somebody puts into your hand. A couple of practice rounds at the range, you're going to know whether or not that gun is on or off. You're going to be able to adjust the sight or the point of impact, and you're going to be able to go hunting with it. So Understand that all of this is a journey. If you think that you're going to get into older guns, definitely check out part 2. And we're going to have part 3 and part 4 out for some newer guns as well. So definitely check out the other parts of this video series if you're interested in a little bit more details about a specific type of gun. We're going to be going into military surplus rifles, antique guns, and used guns that are great on the market. We're going to go into some easy new guns for beginners, and then we're also going to be going into some of the more high-end guns that you might want to get into as a target shooter. I do appreciate you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.